Today's topic is the Vitodens 222F. The 222F is a product that Viessmann introduced last year about this time. It's a really unique product in that it's an all-in-one smart compact solution for space heating and domestic water heating. And it gives you the opportunity to offer your customers a product that kind of modernizes their whole mechanical room. It has the advantage of producing, all kinds of domestic hot water and provide all the benefits of a condensing boiler. So you improve the efficiency of their domestic water heating. They gain the benefit of reduced space in their mechanical room, and yet get all the benefits of a condensing boiler with the high efficiency operation. So I think you'll see as we go through this presentation, it's a great product. It's designed to save time and effort on the job site, being that all-in-one package. There's a lot of labor savings involved in when you put one of these products in. And this product is certainly a part of the larger Viessmann family of heating products. This is a floor standing condensing boiler, but we also offer, of course, wall-mounted condensing boilers and then a high mass condensing boiler, which is the Vitotronic 300, along with solar water heating systems, which can be used in concert with this product, domestic water tanks, and our new Airflow Plus hydronic air heating handler. This particular product, the 222F and the air handler, make a really good combination for getting into even retrofitting a forced air heated house, because now you can go in with this compact 222F, which is an all-in-one domestic water space heating package. You combine this with the Airflow Plus hydronic air handler, and you've got a solution that it doesn't restrict you to just hydronic heating systems, but any system that uses forced air or hot water. So that Airflow Plus is a brand new product that Viessmann just launched, and we did a webinar last week on that. So if you're interested, you can get more information online on that product. So what is this 222F all about, and what are some of the features? It's a heating boiler and a domestic water tank in one jacket. So it gives you both of those functions in a real clean, neat, aesthetically pleasing package. Efficiency, it's 95% AFUE, so that's going to guarantee you tremendous fuel savings and highly efficient operation. So it gets you, and especially when you combine this with a radiant floor heating system, that efficiency can go even higher. AFUE is a measurement of efficiency at a fixed temperature, 140, 120, but if you connect this to a radiant floor heating system and operate it at even lower temperatures, you're going to get even better performance. So potentially you could go up to 96, 97, even 98% efficiency on a really low temperature heating system. So tremendous potential to save fuel with this. Compact design, and again, that's in today's day and age, mechanical rooms are getting real small. It's hard to find space for all these multiple pieces of equipment, and now you put it all in one footprint here. The water heater and the heating boiler all in one spot. In townhomes or condominiums or any application like that, this can make a tremendous advantage in how you pipe up that mechanical room. Like all Viessmann condensing boilers, we have a really durable, long-lasting stainless steel heat exchanger design, and it's proven itself over the last 15 to 20 years with Viessmann condensing boilers to be a tremendous, reliable, durable, long-lasting, easy-to-service heat exchanger design. It's really at the core of everything that Viessmann does with condensing technology. We build them to last. This product is really super fast and easy to install because a lot of the components are pre-piped and pre-connected, and you have quick connect fittings and the multiple venting and piping options that really speed up your installation. And again, another common theme among a lot of Viessmann products is easy to service. So we make things easy to get at, quick connect plugs, a very easy accessible component. So when it comes time to service this thing in the future, you're not going to be pulling your hair out trying to get at a part or replace something. It's really easy to work with. And again, that modern appearance is something that I think really fits in. Your customers you're going to be giving your customer a real clean, neat mechanical room. A lot of the piping is hidden, so you're not showing all the the piping connections, which would be normally made outside of the boiler. If you had bought a boiler and a domestic water tank separately, you'd see all that piping. Now it's all hidden. So if you look at the general overview of that product, it's a domestic water heater and a boiler all in one. So you look up top is the Vitodens 200 series boiler. That's the spiral wound heat exchanger which we'll elaborate on further on. So that sits up at the top of the boiler, and the Vitotronic control and the expansion tank. So those are all the things that are in the top of that boiler. You have the heat exchanger here, the control here, and then all the wiring, and then the expansion tank over here on the left-hand side. And then down low is your tank. So that's your fully insulated stainless steel 100-liter storage tank, and then the tank loading system, which is two separate pumps and a heat exchanger. So the heat exchanger and the diverting valve and the pumps are all located in the middle here, and then it loads the tank in the top. And I'll show you later on how that tank loading system is just tremendous for giving you high output domestic water when you need it. And of course, the stainless steel tank is of the same grade of stainless steel we use in our condensing boilers. That's a 316 Ti stainless steel. So this thing's going to last a long time. You got a boiler heat exchanger that's made of high-grade stainless steel, and a tank which is made of high-grade stainless steel. So both of those components are going to last a long, long time. So a great product overall. So you look at the footprint, 23 by 23 and 64 inches high. Very compact, fits into tight spaces. It is zero clearance to combustibles as well. So the sides, the back, the top, everything, the venting is all zero clearance to combustibles. So that really makes it easy to think about where you're going to put it, where the vent's going to run. You don't have to worry about those clearances to combustibles like you would with older pieces of equipment. And it really opens up, if you're doing a boiler retrofit for a customer that's got an old, say, an old copper boiler or an old cast iron boiler that was a category that used category 1 venting, we can now which had serious clearances to combustibles. Now you can put the boiler almost anywhere. And the other thing is, it's because it's so quiet, you can't even really hear this thing operate. That again opens up some opportunities. So if your customer is redoing their basement, maybe you can move the boiler into another spot, and it's going to be quiet, and combustibles aren't an issue anymore. So really opens up lots of opportunities. So there's the specifications of the main specs of this product. There's two versions available, the B2TB19 and the 35. You can see the capacities there. The 35 goes up to 125,000 BTUs. The 19 is a smaller model, 68,000 BTUs. So, and then the other difference is, so those are the space heating or the boiler output capacities. You also have different capacities on the bottom when it comes to the domestic water production, and I'll show you that later on. So you have to decide whether or not that you may have an application where the space heating load is very low, but you maybe have a high domestic water requirement. So that's where you may want to look at the 35 as an alternative there. But the smaller unit is really designed as a condo kind of unit. It's got small output, small load, and so it's perfect for the townhome or the condo, which doesn't have a lot of BTU capacity, and it still has a lot of domestic water production capability as well. So both models, you can see there, have the same dimensions, so there's exactly the same footprint for both of those. And you can see there's either a 5.6 to 1 or a 6.6 to 1 turn down on those two different units. So that's the modulation rate of the burner. So even on that 35, you can modulate down to quite a low firing rate. 19,000 BTUs is the minimum firing rate. So even in an application where you have small space heating load, large domestic load, that boiler will still modulate down to a very low level, like almost a 7 to 1 turn down on that B2B435. So it's ideal for those applications like condos and small offices that don't have small domestic water loads or small heating loads. Either way, it's going to perform very, very well. So here's a look at the piping connections. There's two different versions available. When you order the boiler, you have to specify which connection kit you require. And you can see there's a horizontal kit or a vertical kit. And this determines where the piping connections come out of the back of the boiler. So in the vertical kit, you can see everything comes straight out the top and the back at the back. These are all the back of the unit. So all those piping connections would come out of the top at the back there. Or if you choose the horizontal kit, you can come out either the left side or the right side. So it kind of depends, if you're in a very tight condo mechanical room and you have to replace you're replacing a water heater and have the fan coils in a certain location, you're going to have to choose that right or left. So it really gives you a lot of installation versatility with these piping connections. The bottom of these connections, by the way, is a quick connect fitting with O-rings and a little stainless steel clip which holds it on. So you just clip those on to the connections, the mating connections on the boiler here, and then on the top you have your either NPT or standard piping connections on there. So you can really make this product suit the location where you're putting it in. So you have to think about that before you order the product, but it does give you a lot of versatility. And with these two piping connections, you can really reduce the amount of on-site piping that you have to do, because you can make the boiler match up exactly what you're replacing. If the water connections are on the left side or the right side, or the heating loops are on the right side or the left side. You cannot do multiple, you can't combine these, so you have to choose one or the other. And you can see on the bottom here, we do supply some fittings here, drain valves and isolation valves, which are part of our package. Now, one thing you want to be very careful of is that you do not mix up the hot and cold. We've had a couple scenarios where people have hooked these up left side, right side, and they've had the hot water and the cold water mixed up. That creates a problem, because if you got hot water coming in, the cold water connection, it really does not, the boiler does some really wacky things, and it's definitely will not produce the results you want. So just be careful of that. So you can see that all of the components are factory wired, and we'll go through these other components in more detail, but because they're all factory, you take this thing out of the box and it's basically, boiler, expansion tank control, domestic water tank, pumps, heat exchanger are all factory wired. So what that means is fast and easy installations, because you basically take this thing out of the box, you put it in the floor, you make those 5 piping connections off the top, and you maybe run the outdoor sensor and the power supply, and that's basically it for simple installation. Now, you may have more complicated installations that require more, but it really minimizes potential for on-site errors. So, you're not going to be called back because, someone piped the pump in backwards or wired this wrong, or, whatever. Things happen on job sites that, you can't foresee sometimes. So this just eliminates, takes Murphy out of the equation in some cases here, because you've got those things all pre-piped. The other thing is that it's design match components. So you're not relying on someone else to choose the individual components. So if you buy all these components separately and pipe it all up, do you have the right domestic water heat exchanger to match the boiler? Is the expansion tank sized correctly? Do the pumps supply the head loss that's required to overcome the friction loss in the boiler and the tanks? So all of those things are kind of eliminated from the equation. There certainly is other parts of the design process that have to come into play, but they're all design matched. They're all designed to work together so that you're going to get excellent performance every time, repeatable for your installers, so they don't have to think about picking the right pump for the right application. It's already done for you. So let's have a look at the major components of this product. So first and foremost, the Inox-Radial stainless steel boiler heat exchanger. That's the heart of every Viessmann boiler, and no difference here. And we'll take a closer look at that further on. Boiler and burner kind of work together. So again, a big part of the efficiency and performance you're going to get out of this product is the combination of that matrixed cylinder burner and the Inox-Radial stainless steel heat exchanger. So those kind of work in tandem. Full modulation burner with that 6 or 7 to 1 turn down ratio gives you that excellent condensing performance. And you combine that on top, to me, this is the core 3 here: the heat exchanger, the burner, and the control. All of those things work in tandem to give you that exceptional performance and efficiency. We've been doing multi-temperature, multi-load systems for a long time with domestic water and space heating. So So that for us to control this kind of system, domestic water and space heating, is really simple for us because we've been doing it for years with our Vitotronic series of controls, and in the past it was our Trimatic series of controls. So we know how to control combination space heating, domestic water heating systems, and we do it very well. And the Vitotronic control now brings a real easy, user-friendly interface to the equation. LCD screen with really simple to commission setup, and I'll go through that later on. It's a super easy control to work with. The other parts of that boiler, the compact expansion tank, that is the expansion tank for the space heating system. It's not for the water heating side. It's for the closed loop space heating system. We have something called a domestic water storage tank loading system, and I'll explain how that works further on. I'll show you some graphics in a few minutes, but that's what gives you the power to generate huge volumes of domestic water in this system. There is no coil inside that tank. Most of you who've used Viessmann products in the past are familiar with our Vitocell series of tanks, which have internal coil heat exchanger. This is a little bit of a departure from that, but the performance is just as good or better in some cases with that tank loading system. So I'll show you how that works, and it combines the storage tank, the plate heat exchanger, diverting valve, and a pump. And of course, then there's the storage tank itself, the domestic water storage tank. So it's just a straight storage vessel with tappings for the heating supply and the cold and hot water out. So we'll show you how that works later on. So let's take a closer look at that Inox-Radial heat exchanger. This has been the core for all Viessmann wall-mounted condensing boilers now since about the year 2000. And so we've had a long track record with this. We first introduced the Vitodens 200 WB2A series Vitodens in year 2000. And we've carried that forward through our different wall-mounted boilers, then with the Vitodens 100, and now into the Vitodens 222F. So it's the same design, reliable, durable, easy to clean, high-performance condensing operation. So it developed and manufactured by Viessmann. It's our own design. We've been using it for a long time, and we know that it works very, very well. We've had great success with it. So the way this Inox-Radial heat exchanger works is it relies on the extremely high heat transfer you get through a small gap. It uses what's called the laminar small gap principle, where you get very high laminar flow of flue gases through that heat exchanger. And the amount of heat transfer you get in a single pass is just phenomenal. So the burner creates, certainly the combustion chamber is in the inside of that coiled heat exchanger, and the flue gases are going to then pass through these gaps. And as they pass through the gaps, you can see the tremendous amount of temperature drop you get. If you got a water temperature of 86 degrees flowing through that coil, and in the combustion chamber, you're going to have a temperature coming off that burner of about 1600 degrees Fahrenheit. And as that flue gas passes through that very, very small gap, it's like a 0.8 millimeter gap, you get tremendous heat transfer, and the flue gas will exit out the other side at below the dew point at 115 degrees. So that tremendously high rate of heat transfer is again, is a function of that tightly wound coil. And you have these little dimples you see here on the drawing here, which are what separates the gaps and keeps those gaps very precisely spaced. We actually now have a service tool which is designed to clean these gaps. It's a little stainless steel, it's almost the thickness of a credit card, with a hand tool that you can use to clean out those gaps. And it just slides in between the gaps. And over time, you need to make sure, you can get debris and dirt and things like that can get in there. So you need to clean that out. And you can also get the deposits from the natural gas, like the mercaptan comes in there and creates little granules that can plug up those coils as well. So the condensation actually occurs almost exclusively, always on the outside of the coil. So as it's very hot inside that combustion chamber, and as the flue gases passes out through the gaps, that's where the condensation starts to occur. So the condensation runs down the outside of that coil, and that's where we drain it away in our condensate drain. So it's kind of a self-cleaning action on the outside of that heat exchanger because it's always washing itself with condensate. Now, The inside of the heat exchanger is not self-cleaning. You do have to clean that out. And the P-trap that's connected to that condensate drain is not self-cleaning. So those are two things that can plug up over time. So you definitely have to clean the boiler. But the outside surfaces, which are most of the heat transfer is occurring, do tend to wash themselves out with that condensate. Now, the amount of condensate that forms is a function of the water temperature. So if you're running lower water temperatures through that boiler, it tends to condensate more, of course. If you're running this thing on a high temperature system, it doesn't condensate as much. So that does impact a little bit. So let's have a look at that matrix cylinder burner. It's, again, been a mainstay of our condensing boiler lines for quite a few years. And it's a fully modulating burner, as I said earlier, up to a 7-to-1 turn down ratio. Natural gas or LP. This boiler doesn't really care when you buy this boiler whether you're going to use it for natural gas or LP. There is a field version that needs to be done, but it's very, very simple. It's primarily a coding address change and you change a setting on the gas valve. So it's a very simple, easy conversion to make that into LP. This burner uses something called Lambda Pro technology, and it's something we've introduced for the last probably 6 or 7 years with Viessmann condensing boilers in the Vitodens 200 series. And I'll explain what that does, and it really provides phenomenal performance for that burner. As I mentioned earlier, the turn down ratio. The other thing that's really important as well is the emissions, and there's not a lot. There's some jurisdictions that regulate NOx emissions. Not as much so in Canada, but it is something you can promote to your customer, is that this thing produces almost no emissions, very clean burning, burns natural gas without any of the nasty side effects. And then for those who know, NOx is one of the byproducts of smog and ground level ozone, so it really does clean up the air when you run this thing. So let's take a quick look at that self-calibrating boiler and combustion management system, the Lambda Pro technology. Don't get freaked out by this graph here. But what we're looking at here is the way that this boiler automatically calibrates itself based on different gas qualities, different startup conditions, etc. And lambda is basically the name for the excess air ratio. So when you burn natural gas and you're mixing gas and air in the natural gas combustion process, and you typically want excess air in the combustion process, because you can't have, if you have 1-to-1 gas-air ratio, then it's very difficult to maintain that. And if you're not careful, if you go just a little bit to the other side of excess air, you get into bad combustion, rich combustion, which is soot and things like that. So generally, we want to operate in the lean combustion side of this graph here, where we have about anywhere from 1.2 to 1.4. For instance, an excess air ratio of 1.3 is 30% excess air. So you got extra air in the combustion process just to make sure it's running at good quality, good clean combustion. So the way that the Lambda Pro technology works is it ensures optimum combustion and high efficiency at all times by automatically keeping track of the excess air ratio. And it does that by this one here, the ionization signal. Show you how it works here on this next graphic here. The combustion management control is going to independently control the gas and air of each other. And the way that thing works is that ionization signal is going to change depending on how that burner's firing. It actually, there's a relationship between the excess air ratio and the ionization signal. So the control system is looking at that excess air ratio through the ionization signal and automatically adjusting the gas and air ratio. So you can see in this little graphic here, it's just showing you a couple different examples where you have either higher energy gas or lower energy gas. And you can see this is the lean, this red burner indicates that you're on the lean or on the rich side of the combustion. You got low excess air. That means you've got bad combustion. We need to get back over into this green zone here, which is our ionization signal producing good combustion. So it's just this is happening in real time, constantly, all the time. So it doesn't matter if you got a blip in the gas supply. It doesn't matter if you've got something blocks the air vent temporarily. It's looking at all that combustion processes. So it's like someone constantly running a combustion analyzer on your system and always making sure you got perfect combustion. So That is certainly a great feature of this whole series of controls burners that we sell, the Matrix series with the Lambda Pro technology. And that's used on our 200 Vitodens wall-mounted boiler. It's used on our CU3A Vitodens, our Vitocrosso 300 series boiler, and on the 222F. So what it means for you, the contractor in the field, is really simple commissioning, no field adjustments, and it just simplifies the whole process. And what it means for the customers is that you get perfect combustion all the time. They never have to worry about, for instance, when you change this boiler from natural gas to LP, it's a simple coating adjustment because the Lambda Pro technology will take care of all that. So again, it's one of the features of this series of boilers that produces excellent efficiency all the time. And even as that ionization electrode starts to get a little deteriorated over time, it sort of compensates itself if you get a little bit of deposit over time on that ionization electrode, it sort of automatically compensates for that on its own. So a great part of this boiler design. I want to take a look now at the domestic water loading system. This is, again, another innovative feature that Viessmann's developed to provide that abundant hot water whenever you need it. It utilizes what we call, again, that storage tank loading system. And once you look at the specifications on this, you'll see that it really outperforms a lot of much larger storage tanks. So even though this storage tank is only 100 liters, you will find that it outperforms most of the 50-gallon water heaters in the market when you look at the first 10-minute draw rate and the constant delivery rate. Because it's got a plate heat exchanger, you can sort of almost guarantee your customer that you'll never run out of hot water with this. As long as that boiler keeps firing, you'll produce water continuously. Now, there is a limit once you've drained the capacity of the tank, of how much you can deliver on an ongoing basis, but you'll never run out of hot water as long as that burner keeps firing. So there's some of the performance data on that domestic water tank. And you can see here, there's two different ratings on domestic water capacity. There's the maximum 10-minute draw, and then there's the continuous draw. So the 10-minute draw is what you can draw out of the tank and what the boiler will produce in that first 10 minutes of operates, because it's got as soon as there's a draw for water, it automatically flips over to domestic water production. So you're getting instantaneous reaction to a draw. There's a flow switch in there, and then there's after on an ongoing basis, you have a continuous draw rate. So look at that big series boiler there. You got a 10-minute draw rate of 60 gallons, and you got a continuous draw rate of 3.3 GPM. That's based on a temperature rise of 70 degrees from 50 to 120. So tremendous performance on that domestic water tank. You should, like I say, very safely be able to say your customer, with exceptions. You can't make promises. Every job's different, but in a general sort of average use residential application, you can produce all the hot water they're ever going to need. So let's take a look at how that unit works. And this is the exploded view here, or close-up view of the components of that storage tank loading system. And the main components, of course, it starts with the storage tank. We load up that 100-liter storage tank with hot water, so it's ready to go whenever the customer draws water. So the first, again, that's why that first 10-minute draw rate is very, very high, because you can pull out of that storage. And then from there, it starts producing domestic water with tank loading system. So the tank loading system consists of that stainless steel plate heat exchanger. There's a domestic water loading pump and a boiler pump and a three-way diverting valve. So between the way this boiler operates is that basically whenever there's a draw for domestic hot water, it immediately flips over the diverting valve and activates the domestic water loading pump and the boiler will then ramp to high fire. So you get the full capacity of the boiler cranked into that heat exchanger, loading up that tank. And with that, you get, and at the same time, you can be drawing out of so it's sort of concurrent with the water being drawn out of the tank. So as your customer is drawing water out of that storage tank, you're also loading it back up again. Even if you draw all the water, or if it's a very, very high draw rate, you'll still, once you drain the domestic water tank, you'll still be drawing the 3.3 gallons a minute, for instance, on the big one, through that plate heat exchanger. There's a couple of sensor locations. Just want to point that out there is that it does use a couple of domestic water sensors to activate this whole system, and we know what the temperature is in the storage tank. We know what the temperature is coming right out of the heat exchanger. So that's worked into the logic of the control and how it produces the domestic water as required. I have a little graphic here which shows how that tank loading system works. And as you can see, the color bands, the way this tank loading system works is it loads the top of the tank first. So, and then it stratifies down without getting turbulence in there, because the way you're actually drawing hot water out of the top of that tank at the same time. So you can see that even if the tank is cold and you're loading up that tank with the heat exchanger, you've got a short route from where you're loading the tank and where you're drawing out of that tank. So that's why you get such exceptional performance out of this tank, even when you've got a very heavy draw. And as you can see here, you can load that tank from 10 to 60 degrees in 10 minutes. So even in a dead cold tank, it doesn't take long to heat it back up again. Overall, the benefits here are again, lots of hot water when you need it, and customers aren't going to experience fluctuations in temperature or lack of hot water. So those are kind of the core parts of that boiler when you look at the heat exchanger, the burner, and the tank loading system, the domestic water. I want to take a look now at the venting options. You have multiple venting options with this product, like all of our condensing boilers. Starts out with a coaxial pipe within a pipe system. That's in a lot of cases it's a preferred route for some contractors, because you only have to drill one hole through the wall and you've got a true sealed combustion unit with one pipe. So, but that's only one of the options. You also have numerous single wall pipe options, the rigid PPS, flexible PPS, CPVC, or even stainless steel if you want to. So let's look at different configurations. The venting length does vary with the different configurations. First off, I'll look at the two-pipe systems. You can go either vertically or horizontally with two-pipe systems. So you have two openings in the top of the boiler vessel itself, where you can have your supply air coming into the unit and your flue gases going out. You can also go hybrid. So that two-pipe system can be a combination of sidewall combustion air coming in, flue gases going up through a chimney, or even flexible PPS, or you can have both going out the sidewall or both going out the top. So lots of versatility there. And the total equivalent length does vary with these different versions. So I say vent lengths up to 180 feet, but it does vary with each one of these options. So you have to look. We have a complete separate manual which describes all the venting options with these boilers. You can also go one pipe system. That's the configuration that gives you the longest equivalent length of venting, up to 180 feet. For this one, you do need to supply room air to use combustion air to the unit. So in a lot of cases, you're going to have combustion air that's coming in through a ventilation opening in the wall or something like that. So you may have an old building that's already got a ventilation opening in the side of the building. You just continue to use that. If you want to go totally sealed combustion, then you have to use one of the two-pipe systems, or this third option here, which is the coaxial. Coaxial is the pipe within a pipe. You've got combustion air coming in and flue gases going out in one sort of package. One of the advantages of that coaxial systems, a couple are actually, you're only drilling one hole through the wall to get both those combustion air and flue gases. And you also preheat the combustion air as it's coming into the boiler by the exiting flue gases. So you continue to extract more energy out of the flue gases as they're passing through that system. So in effect, it gives you a little efficiency boost to the appliance. So that's again why I would think that's if I was putting in a boiler, that would be my preferred choice, is to use that coaxial, because of the simplicity of producing sealed combustion and the fact you preheat the combustion air. The integrated Vitotronic control is really the brains of this unit. It provides all of the logic for controlling the space heating circuits and producing domestic hot water. And it's got a lot of great features. We can go with multiple heating circuits. So if you had, for instance, a simple one zone, one load space heating system and domestic water, it's pretty straightforward how you control that. But you can also go multiple heating circuits. So I could have up to 3 separate heating circuits with 2 low temperature circuits and 1 high temperature circuit with mixing valves. So lots of options for this, and I'll show you some of the piping layouts in a few minutes. You have, of course, domestic water priority is built into this because it is a combo boiler, so that's pretty much given. You have an integrated digital timer clock. So it's one of the more underutilized features of Viessmann controls. There's a lot of people may understand outdoor reset, but they don't. I'm not going to bother programming the timers. But it is, if you have the right customer and you can utilize those internal digital setback clocks for all the heating circuits and the domestic water functions, you can again produce additional fuel savings for your customer by fine-tuning the heating and domestic water production to the actual usage pattern of the occupants of the building. So if they're not there at certain times of the day or in weekends, or if it's an office or whatever, use the setback clock, set it back, and you'll get even greater fuel savings. So that built-in outdoor reset control uses an outdoor temperature sensor mounted on the outside wall, and it modulates the water temperature based on how cold it is outside. So that's the basic reality of all outdoor reset controls. And to me, whenever I explain outdoor reset to someone, why would I bother using outdoor reset? To me, it's 2 things. It's comfort and efficiency. If you don't use outdoor reset versus you do for a typical hydronic heating system, you're getting 15% reduction in fuel consumption when you use that outdoor reset, because it always modulates the water temperature, gives you low, and again, you got to remember with a condensing boiler, the lower the water temperature, the higher the performance and the efficiency of that boiler. So we always want to use that outdoor reset wherever possible. And the other thing it does is it enhances the comfort, because when you're not overheating the building because you're providing, if you're just using a 1 temperature system, you're giving in the spring and the fall, you get too high of a water temperature going into the rads, and you tend to get that spiking up and down in the temperature. So it's really something you want to promote to your customer. You're modernizing their heating system. You're taking out that old clunker that had a single thermostat and a boiler rocking off the high limit in the basement. Use that outdoor reset, promote the fact they're going to have better comfort and better efficiency. It's a powerful combination. Usually when you talk to people about, you're going to save a whole bunch of fuel, they think, well, what do I have to give up? I'm going to be cold half the time, or I have to turn my thermostats down. No. With outdoor reset done right, you get better comfort and you get the efficiency on top of that. So it's a great way to slash your customers' fuel costs. So the way that control works, it's a black and white. This is our new interface we introduced about 1.5 to 2 years ago. Very easy to use, intuitive programming, graphically displayed information, and lots of features on that. So this is not the venue for me to teach you how to run this control, but suffice it to say, it's very easy to work with. I'll show you a couple of the screens here just to show you, like if you're going to use setback timers, you can see it's all there right in the screen. The time of day that you're setting for normal operation and the reduced operation, it's little bars, all the numbers are there. So it's very easy to see that you're actually setting a setback timer at a certain time of the day. If you want to change, just an example here, you want to change the temperature units. It's right there on the screen. 1 click, done. Things like that. And then heating curves. A lot of contractors and end users don't really understand heating curves, but the way we do it, it makes it a lot easier, because if you set a heating curve of 1.4, you can see right in the screen there what that actually means. And if you start changing the heating curve up and down, you'll start to see that sloped line here. You'll start to see it move up and down, and you can see, at 0 degrees outside, I'm going to be producing 53-degree boiler water temperature. That makes sense. And when it's minus 20 outside, I'm producing 77. So they can understand what happens at different times of the year, and you can even stand there and explain to your customer very simply and easily, this is what happens when it's 10 degrees, this is what happens when it's minus 10 degrees. The boiler's smart. It's going to use that outdoor reset to save you fuel. And if it's done right, again, you get that comfort and efficiency. The last thing on the control side I wanted to show you is internet-ready capability of this unit. Viessmann introduced last year Vitocom 100 LAN 1 series interface module, and that gives you the ability through a router to access the internet, and now you can get in with the Viessmann app, remote changing of temperature settings, accessing, seeing what's going on in the system from a remote location. For instance, if you had a customer that wanted to activate, setback mode or deactivate it, so for a cottage or something like that, really makes it simple to log in, change things, see what's going on, see what the temperature in the space is, and go from there. So again, a great additional feature you can maybe offer to your customer. When you get into more complicated systems and you look at some of the accessories that are available, I just want to explain a couple of those things. When you get into multi-temperature systems, we offer mixing valves and actuating motors to be able to provide that two temperature modulation. So the typical we show here, like a radiator system and a radiant floor system. We can have two separate heating curves, two separate outdoor reset ratios for the high temperature and the low temperature part of the system. We also offer a low loss header and temperature sensor. Again, because this is a low mass boiler, like all of our Vitodens series of products, we want to use typically primary, secondary piping. The boiler pump, the primary pump is built into the boiler in this case, and then you have your secondary pumps here with your two temperature zones. So we provide a package which has the low loss header sensor, the immersion well, so that sensor communicates back to the boiler as well. The other accessory option we offer is the Vitotronic communication thermostat. This is a way to make the entire system a Viessmann control system. So you eliminate even a room thermostat in some situations. And that becomes a remote control that gives the customer in their space the ability to see what's going on in the boiler, change temperature set points. So if they're a little bit cool, a little bit warm, they want to activate the party mode, they want to activate the energy saving mode. These are all things that can be done right from the living space. And it's got a great graphical display, easy to use. It's a great combination, especially when you're retrofitting an old home that has maybe a fin radiators or cast iron radiators. This would be a perfect way to control that whole house. You can still have individual zones, but in most cases, that communication thermostat would eliminate that need for that completely. So a lot of things you can do. You can go from very simple system to very complex system, depending on what you want to do. Here's just an example of a sample heating system, and again, it's got a 222F, which is producing domestic water and space heating. As you can see, the internal pumps there and the heat exchangers. We feed into the low loss header. The low loss header has a sensor which feeds back into the control, so the control knows exactly what temperature we're supplying out here to the loads. And then you've got a high temperature zone, in this case, one of the Airflow Plus fan coil units, which has its own internal built-in pump, and then you've got a mixing valve circuit for a radiant floor system. So that gives you the best of all worlds. You've got fan coil heating with coming off the high temperature side of that loop, and then you've got low temperature heating for the radiant floor in the basement or whatever, or the staple up section. So great possibilities there. And that's just one example. We have all kinds of piping layout drawings in our manuals, and you can see all kinds of different configurations in there, but that's the kind of technology that's built into that. Serviceability is really important to Viessmann, and we've always made our products with the whole idea being the basis of design is easy service. It's not something that's an afterthought. It's designed and built into every component and every product that we make. So you can see some of the pictures here. All of the components are accessible from the front of the unit. It's very easy to get at. There's a flip down control box here, which has all of the plug-in connections for your pumps and your relays and your input sensors, etc. So it's all, that's right at the front side of the boiler. You look at something like this, your limits, quick connect plugs, very easy to get at, number coded plugs, which are easy to if you have to replace something or take it apart, it's easy to put back together because they're all number coded. There's no service access required from the side of this unit. As I said earlier, all the systems are easily removable with a push fit system. And the other thing that's, of course, apparent with all of the Viessmann Vitodens series boilers is the heat exchanger is very easy to service because you swing the door open and it's right there. easy to get at, easy to service. So again, easy to install up front and also easy to service. And when it comes time to work on this unit, it's not something you're going to be scratching your head or pulling your hair out trying to figure out how to get at. We've seen a lot of pieces of equipment over the years where you look at how the components are laid out and you think about having to replace a component and you go, what the hell? You have to pull the whole boiler apart to get at it. Not the case with ours. You got quick connect fittings on, like to replace a heat exchanger or a pump or something like that. It's not an onerous job with a Viessmann piece of equipment because we use the quick connect fittings, O-ring seals, things like that. So you could pull that apart and put it back together in a very short period of time. And it's all accessible. So, okay, so that's sort of just as a summarization of all the features and benefits of this product. Starts with highly efficient operation and dramatic fuel savings. So by combining the domestic water and the space heating and having that outdoor reset and the tank loading system, we have the high performance of both space heating and domestic water heating. If you go into an old boiler retrofit, you got an old cast iron boiler or copper boiler, and you got a direct fired water heater, and you take both of those out and put this piece of equipment in, man, oh man, you're going to knock the socks off that fuel consumption in that house because you go from, maybe mid 60 efficiencies at best with a direct fired water heater that's got any age to it, and then you get that old clunker of a boiler with high stack losses and high standby losses, and you go to something like this that's condensing technology with modulation burner and outdoor reset control and that self-calibrating burner technology. You combine that with coaxial sealed combustion venting system. All those things add up, and you harvest little bits of efficiency all along the road there, and you're gonna, like I say, really show your customers some dramatic fuel savings. And you do it in a very compact space, a very compact, aesthetic, nice looking package. It's a very modern piece of equipment, brings their mechanical room up into the 21st century and saves them a lot of space. In a lot of cases, again, your customer's going to appreciate the fact that you save them some floor space. You take that old water heater out of there and you take the old boiler out of there and you put this piece of equipment in there. You might save them, you might use 50% or less of the space that you're using before. So they're going to appreciate the extra storage you give them in your mechanical room. And that's, space is a premium in every mechanical room now, as we know. The absolute silent operation of this thing is tremendous. And even during domestic water production, when it ramps up to high fire, you pretty much have to be standing within 3 or 4 feet of this thing to really hear it. So again, a lot of older equipment, you may have power venters or you may have noisy burners or whatever. This thing is going to be super quiet, and they're going to appreciate that when they're retrofitting their mechanical room. Like all of Viessmann products, these things are built to last with durable stainless steel, high quality stainless steel burner, high-tech controls, stainless steel storage tank, domestic water storage tank. So overall, this thing is going to give them a tremendously long lifespan. And especially if they're used to replacing their domestic water or direct fired water heater every 6 or 7 years, because that's about how long they last. This is going to last a lot longer. That's a stainless steel domestic water tank. So long-lasting, durable, reliable operation is really something you can preach and talk to your customer about. From an installation standpoint, your installers are going to whack this thing and love this thing because it saves them a lot of time on the job site. Time's money, and if you look at the cost of this 222F unit, it's, when you combine the cost of a separate domestic water tank, a separate boiler, all the piping, 2 pumps, diverting valves, all that kind of stuff, and then you labor to put this thing in, you're going to save yourself a lot of money on the install. And we've had contractors that have already started using this and just love it because of the labor saving on a job site. And labor, if you can get in and out of a job faster and do a complete boiler room retrofit with boiler, domestic water tank, all in one shot here and do it in half the time, believe me, you're going to really appreciate what that means to your bottom line. And then when it comes to servicing, it's like all Viessmann products, easy to work on. It's not going to be hard to access and pull parts off this thing if you need it down the road. So the service guys down in the future will appreciate that. And of course, we have a tech service line. We man it. It's constantly manned here in our Waterloo facility. So you can call in on the tech info line anytime, and we'll help you walk through if you have any problems with this. And of course, lots of water when you need it. And that's a great feature to be able to offer your customer, is that, yes, you're going to an all-in-one package, but you're not sacrificing the comfort of domestic water production. And, a lot of times there's a lot of kind of combi units coming onto the market now. And the question, if they don't have any storage in them, are you really giving your customer the comfort and the domestic water production they're used to? A lot of people may not be happy going to a combi unit that doesn't have any storage in it, because they get those blips of hot and cold water. You're not going to get that with this product. This is going to, from the customer's perspective, they're not going to notice any different from a standard tank type water heater that they had before. So that is certainly something they're going to appreciate. So highly efficient operation and space heating and domestic water. So that's pretty much it. I hope you've learned a lot on our webinar today. Certainly is more information available to you through a number of sources. You can see here, you can contact our local sales rep. You can download literature from our website, and we certainly encourage you to look at our Viessmann Academy training seminars. We just put online our fall schedule for in-class training seminars, so you can sign up and come see these products operational in our working showrooms. So certainly encourage you to do that. And we will be posting our webinars in our archived webinar service up and running on our website, so you can live stream any of our previous webinars and learn the Viessmann products at your own leisure. So we certainly encourage you to do that. So just to wrap things up, again, I'll say goodbye from Waterloo, and we thank you for joining us for today's webinar. And we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come and listen to what we have to say about this. If you have any questions, certainly you can address them to myself or your local sales rep, and we'll be happy to help you out. So thank you very much. And signing off here, Rob Waters, thank you very much. Bye now.